Money is current. It is supposed to flow, circulate, move, exchange hands. The one thing it's not supposed to do is sit idle in your bank account. And so in this video, I'm going to talk about the concept of velocity of money and why it's very important to understand if you're trying to build wealth. But more importantly, how I utilize velocity of money within the world of real estate. So let's jump right in. Velocity of money is all about maximizing the economic value of every single dollar. How many times can you put that dollar to work to generate more value and even more value rather than sitting idle? Any dollar that you invest to flip, roll into multiple deals has speed, has multiplying power, and has velocity. Any money sitting in your bank account has zero velocity. In fact, it is losing money through inflation and reduction in purchasing power. So in the world of real estate, how do I ensure that I'm maximizing velocity with money that I make, right? So I want to I want to use this as an example to show how you can achieve velocity, through real estate. So last year I had an opportunity. I found a deal. Basically, the lady inherited the property from her mom, who is now late, and she was selling the property. No longer lived in the city, had moved to a different city, and just wanted to sell it. So this opportunity came to me. I had the option it was a good deal. It was going to be a rental property. I had the option to buy it, add to the portfolio. I would have had to come to the closing table with about $60,000 to get that deal. Or I could assign my rights on that deal since I found it and I was under contract to purchase it. Assign my rights to another investor who was focused in that area and make a small fee for doing so. So I chose the latter option. So because that particular property didn't necessarily fit into my buy box in my what I like to buy as rentals, I still wanted to make money from it. So I assigned my rights on that deal to another investor and made $20,000 for doing so. That is called an assignment fee, and it is wholesale. And I have a program that I teach you how to go out and find opportunities like this. And instead of buying it, you wholesale it and make huge chunks of cash. So back to the topic, velocity, right? So instead of having to, come up with 60,000 to purchase the property, I generated 60,000 from the same, 20,000 from the same deal by repositioning the strategy. So instead of acquiring it, I assigned it. And so now I've generated 20,000. So what to do with that 20,000 to maximize it? I then took that 20,000 and I deployed it into two different deals. The first deal came from an opportunity of a lady that was going through foreclosure. She was $5,000 behind on mortgage, and basically, she wanted to avoid a foreclosure so that it doesn't sit on their record for 7 years and basically tarnish their credit. So I came in and said, "Hey, I will take over payments on your existing mortgage, and so instead of you basically losing." Instead of you losing the house and tarnishing your credit, I will catch up the arrears, which the arrears was $5,000, and I'll take over payments on the future payments in perpetuity. So I took over the asset. I paid $5,000 to catch up the arrears. I paid about $2,000 to closing costs to the title company and things like that. And basically, they just deeded the property over to me. So I had $0 to the seller. So $5,000 for the arrears, $2,000 for closing costs, and $0 to the seller. So I acquired this property for $180,000 with $7,000 out of pocket. So that's how I deployed the first 7K to go acquire a property and become the owner for $180,000 property that was worth $215,000 at the time. So at closing, I captured about $35,000 in equity capture. So the $20,000 that I generated has now turned into $48,000 in real money, right? because that $20,000 I put into purchasing the house at 180, that house now has $35,000 of equity. So I have the $35,000 of equity plus the $13,000 remaining from the $20,000 that I deployed. So 35 plus 13, that gives me $48,000. So it just, or by purchasing this property, I've increased more than doubled the value of that $20,000 that I generated. Then this property, I turned it into a short-term rental that brings in about $3,000 every single month in passive income. And this is net after paying the mortgage, after paying the taxes, after paying operating costs. It brings in $3,000 every single month. So in a year, this property now generates $36,000 and still has the $35,000 of equity. In fact, growing because each year it's appreciated. The second deal I did, if you've made it this far, it tells me that you're getting some value out of this video. If you are, please do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button. I put in a lot of work into getting these videos out, and if that's something of value to you, subscribing is the best way to support, to help me grow the channel, reach more people, and ultimately bring you even more value. So please hit that subscribe button, and I appreciate you for doing so. Now let's jump right back in. The second deal I did came from an expired listing opportunity. So this lady had listed, she actually turns out to be a realtor, had listed the property on the market for $330,000, but did not find a buyer. I think she actually listed it at, the last list price was $330,000. It was listed much higher. Didn't find a buyer. It was a great interest rate. So I came in and said, hey, look, same scenario, just different pain point, right? This person is current on the mortgage, but is trying to sell it, has already moved out 2 hours away and is carrying 2 notes. And she didn't want to continue to do that. So I said, I'll take over your payment, same structure. I'll take over your payments. I'll buy this $330,000 property. And we structured it such that I purchased it at $315,000, right? So basically, I took over the existing mortgage at $300K, which was at less than 3% interest rate. So I paid about $10,000 to the seller, cash in their pocket at closing. The seller got seller proceeds, and then another $2,000 plus. I think it was because this was a more expensive house, about $3,000 in closing costs. So that's how I deployed the other $13,000. So on this one, on the 181, it was at a 4% interest rate. And then this one, it was less than 3%. I can't quite remember what was the interest rate. But the story was I purchased the property, again, subject to same acquisition strategy. And now I turned this into a long-term rental that generates, after the mortgage, the PITI is about 2,100. I think it dropped. It's like 2,050. It started at 2,100, but after escrow analysis over a year, it dropped. That's principal, into interest, taxes, and insurance. And I'm renting it currently at $2,550. So I'm basically getting $500 in net cash flow every single month. So this $500 translates to $6,000 a year in cash flow, right? And then on top of that, I'm getting, because the interest rate is only at 3%, I'm getting over $500 in principal pay down every year. So another $6,000 in principal pay down every year. Not to talk of the equity capture, because I purchased it, I captured about $15,000 in equity at closing, and I'm generating appreciation every single year. So if we take this one deal, just gonna draw a bag here of $20,000. What did it translate into? I deployed it into the first deal. The first deal generates $36,000 annually. Plus, I got $35,000 in equity at closing. Plus, I get about because it was 4%. I get about $200 to $300 in principal pay down every single year. So $300, that translates to about $3,600 annually. And because I purchased assets, my tax liability on this $20,000 that I generated is $0 because I'm able to depreciate those two properties over 27 and a half years. I'm not a CPA. Consult with your CPA, but the IRS allows you to depreciate the property from normal wear and tear. So that $20,000 I generated, that have now amplified, and we're going to submit all of this to see what I've amplified it to in perpetuity. I paid $0 in taxes on it because I'm able to depreciate, which is another benefit of real estate. The reason why real estate is a multifaceted asset class. That's one of the reasons why I love real estate. So let's even forget the tax liability. Let's just sum this together. So you have 36 plus 35, so that's 71 plus another $3,600. So $74,600. That's from the first deal. The second deal, it generates $6,000 annually from the $500 cash flow every single month. So on an annual basis, that's $6,000. So $6,000 from the cash flow, $6,000 from the principal pay down, because it's about $500 that gets paid down in interest in principal every single year, because the interest rate was lower than 3%. It was a really good interest rate. So we have $6,000 in principal pay down. I captured about $15,000 in equity capture at closing. So if you sum this up, you have 12 plus 15, that's $27,000. So if you add the two deals together, you're just gonna call it over 100,000. One deal that generated $20,000, I have taken that, redeployed that, and amplified that. And by the way, those two deals, I deployed it within a month, right? Those opportunities came by and I was able to deploy that 20K within a month. So in a year, that 20K translated to $100,000 of real value. And not just that, it's in perpetuity, right? Because one of the deals is generating $3,000 a month. The other deal is generating $500 a month. So each year, it's generating over about $42,000 every single year. On top of the fact that there is net worth being built with appreciation, I'm able to keep more of my money with the depreciation that the IRS allows me to do. So this is the process of velocity. This is the concept of velocity. Rinse and repeat. That $42,000 now that I generate in a year, I can take that money, redeploy it into other deals. That money starts working for me. Money is the greatest workaholic known to man, right? You cannot outwork money. No matter how hard you work, you cannot outwork money. So learn this concept of putting money to work, and so that you can, buy back your freedom, and let money do the work for you. So velocity of money, very, very important concept. I wish you guys luck in going out there and finding deals. This is how I utilize velocity within the world of real estate to generate money and go back and redeploy, generate even more money and redeploy again and again and again. Rinse and repeat.